Hello and welcome to Football 301, a special Friday edition for our preview show. Charles McDonald is going to join me as we preview four of the most interesting matchups. We picked four this week, even though we have a full slate of games. Ones that we really wanted to highlight that we think are the most juicy of this slate of NFL games. Plus, a little 4-minute drill at the end of the show to cover a couple other things that are happening this weekend. But like I said, the person that is joining me every single week for these preview shows is Mr. Forverts himself. Mr. Charles McDonald, how are you doing today?
Doing good. It's Friday.
We're all black.
I'm wearing my Mr. Beef shirt. If you've watched the Bear, when I was in Chicago for some work stuff earlier in August, I stopped by the Mr. Beef shop. If you've seen the Bear, that's what the show's based on. They have an amazing steak sandwich over there, by the way. Like that is some of the best. Did you say it was
like kind of like life-altering steak sandwich?
Yes, like life-altering steak sandwich. In fact, I went back the next day and I got 2. So I ate 3 in like the span of 2 days. And every day you go, the line's out the door. But I'm I live in New York City, so I'm kind of running out of clothes, and I have to go out and get quarters and like bring them back to my apartment so I can do laundry. And quite honestly, sometimes I just don't feel like doing that. And I'm running low, but I have my Mr. Beef shirt.
I like it.
Not much else.
You've hit Chicago for the first time this summer, right? You hit LA for the first time this summer.
Yep.
All right, we're just going to go down the order of like
San Diego for the first time this summer.
San Diego? That's all. Yeah. San Diego's great. It's fake.
Yeah.
I used to go to San Diego every summer for Del Mar. This is very much a Tice story, but Del Mar is the horse track, and San Diego is gorgeous. It's where the surf meets the turf. When I would go there and I would handicap the forums before we go to the races. I'd go to the beach in the morning. I'd be sitting there. I'm from Minnesota, grew up in Wisconsin. I think at the time this story happened, I was living in Pittsburgh as a GA, and I'm sitting there. I'm on the beach, handicapping form. This is great. See these kids come out. I would say ranging from like 12 to 16, like middle school, high school kids, and they have beach volleyball practice. And they start practicing beach volleyball. They go for like an hour, and I'm just like, whatever. I go. They finish. Then they just go grab their surfboards, grab their boogie boards, and just run into the water. And I just got actually the most boomer I've ever felt, because I was like, you guys never went through a Minnesota winter. You guys are just finishing beach volleyball practice and going into the beach. Like, this isn't fair. So yeah, that's my number one feeling about San Diego. It's just how jealous I am of everybody that lives there. But
yeah, you guys never been through a Baltimore winter, man.
It's just, man,
next to the bay, it's so cold.
we oh God. I mean, listen to you right now, getting quarters for your washer and dryer right now. Don't do that in San Diego. But anyways, we are previewing some of the games. The former San Diego Chargers are one of those games that we'll be talking about, but it's not what we're starting with. Actually, it is what we're starting with. Look at that transition. The former San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, playing at Pittsburgh. Wow, look at that. I didn't even mean to transition that way, and I referenced both of these cities. This is great. But anyways, they're playing at Pittsburgh. This is the first game that we will be highlighting. The Steelers are 1.5-point favorites at home. Charles, when you are watching this game, if the Chargers have the ball against this Steelers defense, we'll start with kind of a low-key kind of hoss fight on this side of the ball between the Chargers and the Steelers defense. But what are you looking out for?
I was about to say there's no chance in hell Mel Kiper watches this game, right? Like he's going to be where the explosive passes. Why is everyone playing too high coverages? Oh my God. Like, dude, Mel, you're like 70 years old. What are you talking about?
And he was glorifying 1970s football, right, which is like the worst era of football, like for offensive football, I should say. Like the 60s was actually fun because the AFL was fun, but no, 70s dude, NFL football, man.
He's talking about some damn Terry Bradshaw. Like, go look at Terry Bradshaw's numbers. Dude, Caleb Williams would be like the best quarterback I've ever seen in 1970. What are you talking about, Mel? Oh my God! That was just brain rot that I couldn't even fathom. Because before
I have 100 rants on it, so but I'm trying to pick which one. I'm going through my roulette wheel, which one I want to go with.
But it's like, have you ever, like, obviously we are on social media a lot, and we have friends who are not on social media a lot.
Yeah.
And when you talk to them about something dumb that's on social media and they're not on it, and they're just like, bro, what the hell are you talking about? That's dude. Like what happened to Mel when he was on TV this week, when he was like, the only place I've ever seen the band too high stuff is in fantasy football Twitter before it got to ESPN. And then the actual football players in the set are like, dude, what are you saying right now?
What are you talking about? How do you even enforce that?
Get rid of two, right. You want more penalties, Mel? Like, what are we talking about?
And also, it's not even the main coverage right now. And oh, God, screw it. I'll go on a 10-second rant on this. There's so many things that are happening right now with like, where everyone thinks the quarterback should become a quote unquote check down artist. And really what's happening is that most run plays will have bubbles and flats with them and screens and smoke screens and everything. So it's a combination of runs have merged with passes where they have both options. And because of the defensive looks, cover two, pressures, funky things that are happening, more of those get thrown. So the ADOT, the air yards and all that stuff, that comes down. When those, yes, count as passes, quote unquote. But if I were in a football building and we were self-scouting ourselves, we'll go, oh, that's a run play with a package play on it. And that's what's just been kind of misconstrued is we have to separate. There's like not even straight drop back, like a straight drop back with no play action. In football terms, like in a football building, that is different than a play action pass. There's straight dropbacks, and then there's play action dropbacks, and then there's bootlegs. And when I know I have to sift through these stats, and we have to group them all together to make it easy. But normal play actions are grouped together with bootlegs, and that still blows my brain. And because bootlegs are completely different. Play. No one's blocking anybody on bootlegs. So no, there's a whole bunch of things. I've written articles on this, but defenses are really good, guys. I think we just got to really appreciate how freaking good defenses are right now. And that's really a lot of the issues, but defenses outmatching the offensive lines currently right now in the NFL. That's where it all comes from. It all starts up front. But anyways,
and that's where this game is starting.
It is. I know. That Chargers O-line, Steelers D-line, is actually kind of a little juicier matchup than you'd think.
I think it is. And it will be a good matchup for the Chargers because let's be real, like they get to come back to reality, or they have to come back to reality this week. Like the Panthers.
I was going to say not playing the Panthers.
Right. And specifically the Panthers without Derek Brown, because that was the only guy they had on defense, really. And then he goes down game one, and you're looking at, if someone who knows football can go look at the Panthers depth chart and be like, man, who the hell are these guys? Because it really is that bare on that side of the ball. But this week, you're back. You're playing like a real NFL front seven. Let's keep it real. Like outside of one J.K. Dobbins chunk play versus the Raiders, Wilkins and Crosby kind of kicked their ass in the run game a little bit. So now you get to go back and kind of get another go at it with Cam Hayward, who has been playing some pretty good football.
Yeah.
Because at the end of last season, I was watching his Cam Hayward clips. I'm like, oh no, like this might be.
Yeah.
He looked washed. So maybe this is just an early season thing. He's going to die off like towards the later end. But right now he looks good. TJ Watt looks good. Keanu Ben's playing well. Dude, I think that like even Alex Highsmith has had a pretty good start to the season on the other side. So, and also Minka's been like a madman versus the run and feeling downhill. So this defense is good. Like I think they're in a better spot than they were last year. And if like the Chargers can, dude, Jim's gonna be Jim. He's gonna do what he's gonna do. Like they're gonna line up and they're gonna try to mash it like no matter who's in front of them. But if this is like a game where they can kind of grow up a little bit on offense and start to put some things together, I think that'll be really promising for the long-term view, because I don't think like the Steelers overall are a great team, but like this matchup particularly will go far in terms of just saying, can the Chargers actually do this and make the playoffs? Because if they could run on the Steelers, then that's more like theme. That's more like a credible theme of what they can do against real playoff teams.
I think the schematic advantage of being this kind of bully ball Chargers offense is when you play against a team like the Panthers or any of these weaker teams that don't have a lot of front players or spine or anything like that, maybe are built more by pass rushers, you can kind of neutralize them. And that is a schematic advantage. Like it really is. I know we think of schematic advantages as like, oh, the Dolphins and their motion, the speed everywhere, and Sean McVay and the 11 personnel, but being big can be a schematic advantage as well. And the Chargers are the leader right now in 22 personnel, which is hilarious. 22 is 2 running backs, including fullback, 2 tight ends and a receiver, 1 singular receiver.
On the fullback, man.
Oh,
it's Matlock.
So he's not good. It's a meme. He's a meme fullback. He really is. I know, but it's the thought.
It's the thought. They thought they could just do Pat Ricard again. I'm like, guys, there's a reason why there's only one, man.
Or Bruce Miller. Back from Bruce the 49ers days. Yeah, that ended well.
And Bruce Miller's got like 50. Well, we have to forgot about that.
Yeah, I know, right? That's I played with him as a freshman at UCF. Things happened. So they've run 22 personnel 24 times this season. The rest of the NFL has combined for 59. So they have accounted for about basically a third of the 22. They average over 5 yards per play out of bully ball of 22 personnel. And that's what they're going to lean into. It's just that the Steelers defense is cool, man. Like it always is. It's just the Steelers defense. But you mentioned guys up front. They can be big and burly, the Haywards, Keanu Bentons, Ogunjobi, those guys up front. But then they got the speed on the back end now. And it's a nice little combo. You mentioned Minka, when Joey Porter Jr. is out there, they got some speed on the back end too. So I think that's a really good defense. Our the third member of Football 301, Matt Harmon, he keeps kind of going like, this might be the best defense in the NFL. And at first I was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, hey man, you actually might be onto something. You might be onto something here because they can match.
When he said that, I was like, whatever, Harmon. And then
it's like, hey, safe bet, Steelers, whatever.
Yeah, and now I was like, oh, okay.
Because they kind of have answers against anyone they play against, and that's kind of what you need to be a good defense. So, and they can get after the passer too, like you said. TJ Watt's a true game wrecker still. Like, yeah, and I think this is a game that the Chargers are going to try to run. Of course they are, but we're finally, even with Herbert with the ankle injury, we see a little bit more of Herbert because like as far as just straight numbers, because they have to. But then that gets scary because we saw how that Raiders game was when they legit couldn't block guys for 5 straight snaps and he had to he's throwing hook shots and stuff. So we'll see. That's what it's going to be, more of a passing game, I think, for the Chargers because of that, because the Steelers can actually match him with size up front. Maybe see a little Lad McConkey in the slot, see how he goes. He can wind up outside too, but he's coming along really well. So also want to give a shout out to Simi Fehoko, big burly Stanford receiver. He's bounced around and now he's become a glorified screener in this offense, and I'm loving it. I love a good blocking receiver who literally just does not even get a target, just straight blocking the entire time. He's a screener for this offense. So
I was saying, quick shout out Quentin Johnson, 2 touchdowns last week.
Yeah,
they're trying. Like that's a good start in that direction.
Dude, people make fun of Harbaugh, and I know he's insane, but like he tries to build up guys' confidence, man. Like you really see him after the game, he really's trying, and that's genuine. Like that's. Harbaugh being actually genuine. I know we think some of it is a bit. I know he probably exaggerates a little bit, but from what I've heard, it's like, no, this is just how he
not too
is.
Much.
Like this is just how he actually is. Players, I don't know if respect's the right word, but they're kind of like, I'm okay with that. I'm cool with you being you, because players see right through if you're a fraud, like after a while, especially if you start losing. So I think a lot of players are just kind of like, hey, this is kind of nice where this guy, yeah, he's weird, but like at least he's honest with us and truthful with us. Like players respect that. So going to the other side of the ball, Steelers offense against this Chargers defense. The one little factoid I want to throw out there is the Steelers with your boy Artie Smith, leaders in 13 personnel, which is 1 running back and 3 tight ends. So we got the leaders in 22 personnel, the leaders in 13 personnel. This might be a Greg Maddux game that ends in 2.5 hours, which how much these teams both run the ball. They're really good out of it too. But that is something I am very curious to see, because I don't know if the Chargers can hold up against that. But when you're watching this game, what's something that's standing out to you? Or this side of the ball, I should say, what's something that's standing out to you?
I feel like their 13 personnel is like close to like a 6-0 line package almost.
Darnell, man.
With Darnell Washington, because
he's good.
He's good, and I think he's gotten better too. Because
yes,
at Georgia, what a lot of people became enamored with were like the blocks in space, where he's lined up
and stuff.
Yeah, he's lined up on a DB, and it's like, okay, like on one hand, I am always impressed by like a 270-pound person who can keep their balance in the open field against a DB and pancake them. Because like a lot of times in college especially, you'll see DBs just slip by an offensive lineman because they're not quick enough to get out there. But on the other hand, like that's a 100-pound weight advantage. So like, yeah, please
get a hand on him.
Please steamroll him. Like you should win that every single time. Mm-hmm. But like the actual down to down, like inline blocking with Darnell was not always that consistent. And I think he's gotten a lot better with that in the NFL. And like the clip that you posted of him pass blocking and like Stonewalling Judon in week 1.
John Franklin Myers the next week with no help. Yeah, like a legit left tackle. It's insane.
Yeah. So like their 13 personnel, it's like it's even more
it's a weapon.
Bludgeoning than like most teams' 13 personnel, because now you can get Washington and Freiermuth on the field, who's had a solid start to the season, with Justin Fields in the backfield. And can we just be real about this? Like, they clearly want to just start Fields for the whole season.
Yes.
Like they're
doing it politically.
Right. I feel like that's gonna be tough for Russell Wilson. So why not just trade him to like Miami or something? That's what, like, if you want to do the Justin Fields thing, just rip the Band-Aid off and go for it. And if it doesn't work, just blow it all up in the offseason. Russell
Wilson with the Dolphins offense, actually, that's a great thought experiment that I kind of want to see now. just to see how that matches.
That is a take nuclear bomb waiting to just go off.
I kind of want to see it. I'm going to start looking at that contract. It's 1 year. It's pretty easy to move.
1 year. It's punter money, basically.
It really is. I know. It's good punter money.
Base $1 million salary. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you shouted out Darnell Washington, because he is a weapon for them. The Steelers' offensive line against the Broncos, they're coming into their own. Fontenot got out there. They're trying to rotate Broderick Jones in there, but he keeps busting. He's always going to take time, but it just seems like he's just kind of a head case right now. Head case and like, oh, he's a bad guy, but I think just mentally he's just he's swimming still.
There was a 6-play sequence where he was on the field where he had 3 false starts or 2 false starts in the holding. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? Come on.
And then he had one absolutely amazing block where he wiped out the entire right side of the line and he got penalized the next play. It was pretty funny. It was like penalty, awesome block, because you could tell he's pissed off. And he was like, I'm going to get this one. And then he gets another penalty the next play. So that's why. And then Fontenot gets in there and it's like, oh, yeah, this is why I loved you in the draft. Like, you're a good starter already, like at right tackle. Yeah. And then they got Zach Frazier, and it's kind of a joke, but I'm kind of dead serious, has been legitimately one of the best rookies in the league through 2 weeks. At center, he's solidified the whole line. The guards look okay. Dan Moore actually looks okay. Like, the run game's coming together. So that's why I'm curious in this game that against the Chargers team that's going to try and kind of get after him with it and kind of got funky looks. But that 13 personnel, it's kind of a joke. Like, oh, they're big, burly and stuff. But again, this is a schematic advantage, because if you're going against the Chargers, they'll outsize you if you trot out, nickel, trot out 5 DBs. And if they go base, the Chargers are averaging over 5 yards or allowing over 5 yards of play when they're in base defense. So pick your poison. So, but I do think the Chargers are going to have that side of the ball, even if the Steelers are going to have the advantage on that side of the ball, even if the pass game is a little dicey. Chargers defense is going to do a lot. They're going to move around. It's that kaleidoscope scheme where everybody's flying to every spot. It's not really the Ravens for last year where they had a little bit more speed and talent. They still have some, but why I'm saying all this is I think this is going to be a lot of field scrambles. Because when you have guys running every which way, QB could just tuck it. Fields might just go like, screw this. I'm not going to try and figure out what they're running, and I'm just going to run. So I can see Fields running a lot in this game, and really just the Steelers in general just running a lot this game. What's your pick? We'll wrap it up. Or what's your prediction, I should say? One-liner prediction.
I think the Steelers win. I think the Steelers go 3-0. I think they have enough where they can bully the Chargers run game, and if Herbert's hampered, I don't think they'll score.
Chargers don't have that extra juice on offense. I'm a little worried about the interior still a little bit. Steelers kind of have their number on that end. And then on the other end, I just think even if the Steelers pass game is whatever, where only one receiver has over 100 yards and the other 2 receivers have combined, all the other receivers on Steelers have combined for 28 yards receiving so far this year. It's still, I think they have an identity that can get after this Chargers team where they can just run it and stuff. I think it's going to be a fist fight all the way, maybe with a couple Herbert throws in there, but I think the Steelers kind of end up taking this one down. And we got a great Joe Alt, TJ Watt Haas fight that we also have to mention, because we'll talk about Zach Frazier as one of the best rookies in the year. Joe Alt, the right tackle for the Chargers, is also one of the best rookies in the NFL right now. All right, moving on to the next game. We are going into an NFC they're 1-1. 1-1 Eagles at the 2-0 Saints. The Saints are 3-point favorites. When you watch this game, Charles, when the Eagles have the ball against the Saints defense, what are you keeping your eye on?
Is Jalen Hurts going to be able to survive against what Dennis Allen throws at him? Because dude, Dennis has been, especially, I mean, like the Panthers games are always just like a little suspect, grain of salt. But like, dude, some of the blitzes that he has thrown out over the first 2 weeks, where like they'll put 7 on the line and they'll send 5 and drop 2, or they'll sim pressure from putting 7 on the line, or like just like the angles that they're coming from. I would be really interested to see what that looks like for Hurts, like a kind of a complex defense like that in his first game, doing this without Jason Kelce. Because like what the Falcons do, not quite what the Saints are doing on defense in terms of like the complexity of some of these blitz looks. But also at the same time, I do feel like the Eagles, like they're still in a spot where it's like, we still have a bunch of just really good players. So like even in that game against the Falcons on Monday night, I know they only scored like 21 points, but there were times where they were just running, like literally running over the Falcons. Because Saquon Barkley's still playing good football. The right side of the offensive line has been playing pretty good. So I think they can still just like kind of out-muscle their way and score some touchdowns against the Saints. But like when you get into those 3rd and long situations and Dennis Allen is telling guys to just pin your earbacks and go kill them, that's kind of where I want to see Jalen Hurts still take that next step.
It's going to be the question until proven otherwise. Because he hasn't proven it yet. I know the numbers were good in week 1, but that wasn't like it really him determining it. It was just the offense and the scheme and everything. And then last week it was the stats, like you could tell Hurts started just scrambling in the middle of the game against the Falcons, which was great. But it's like, okay, we do need to see more of that scrambling stuff out of you, because that's what's going to help out the whole offense. The design runs are still bad, all the QB run game stuff. They should just take that out of the offense and just hand the ball straight to Saquon, because that stuff is amazing. That first couple drives against the Falcons was it's clinic tape. I posted one clip. It's great blocking against great looks with Saquon. Okay, this is blocked for 8 yards. Saquon makes it 18. Okay, that's why I'm just so bullish on that run game, like real life and fantasy life. It's so fun. It's so good. It's so talented. It's so fast. They can do anything. Great call about Dennis Allen, though, because people forget he's a Greg Williams disciple. And for those who don't remember Greg Williams, who outside of Bounty Gate, and maybe because of the deep safety jokes, all that.
With the Jets.
Yeah, Greg Williams is a psychopath defensive coordinator, defensive play caller. Like he was like one of the guys in the aughts, especially, of just bringing the craziest stuff. And
every time I hear Greg, like there's this game, and you probably remember this, but there's this game where the Jets are playing the Raiders a couple of years ago, and the game ended on a which this is gonna sound crazy now, but a Hail Mary from Derek Carr to Henry Ruggs for a touchdown to win the game. And on the final play of the game, Greg Williams called a cover 0 blitz, and the linebackers in the hole just got stonewalled. And next thing you know, you got Henry Ruggs 4-2 speed, 1-on-1 on the outside with a slow corner, right? But on the video, there is Adam Gase is like talking to the offense, right? And he has his headset on, and at some point he hears the defensive call in his headset, and he's talking to the quarterbacks, and he just stops, and he goes, "What?" And then he starts running, and as he's like looking for Greg, the play starts, and he's just seeing Henry Ruggs flying down the field 1-on-1. It's just like, oh my God, oh my God! But just as soon as Adam hears cover 0, he's like, "What?"
Aren't they related somehow too, or they're
that would
through
be
marriage or something?
I actually don't know that, but that would be amazing if they were.
Yeah, something like that. Not like they're not like related, but there's something through marriage or something that how they know each other. But too, so oh God, so that's the thing is the head coaches can get. If you're on the offensive staff, you only hear there's 2 comms. There's the passing game comm there, and then the offensive line coach and the assistant line coach will go on the other line, and then the head coach though has the main offensive comm and the head defensive comm, and he can hear both. That's what's hilarious about that is he's the only one on offense that could probably hear that. So that is just like a perfect kind of like example of like how the comms work too, because they don't hear the discussion. All he hears is that the mic comes over and he hears what goes into the headset. So he didn't hear any of the discussion that happened before that. That's such a good story though. But I am curious too, when going back into this game, AJ Brown's out again. Saints have some brawniness up front, but that Eagles O-line, man, Mekhi Becton at guard, He's moving people, literally moving guys over a gap. Which is just why did we let Jeff Stoutland, the Eagles, get him? This is, of course, he's going to look good. The whole line in general just looks big and burly. Again, I know they went against the Falcons front last week, but still, it's just that's the strength of this team. Saints have some beef up there, but it's just not an easy ask. So I'm just really curious on this side of the ball. It's going to come down to passing downs. I mean, really, it is. Look for Hurts to throw another pass when he breaks contain to the right. That's when against the blitz. That's what you're gonna see. You're gonna see a lot of Jalen Hurts throws from outside the pocket to the right. That's what happens in these games. So, all right, I think he has 14 throws outside the pocket to the right. No one else is in double digits.
That's crazy. Like through this portion of the season, that's a lot.
14. Yeah, that's a lot. None of them are sprint outs either. Yeah, or bootlegs. All right, going to the other side of the ball. Saints offense versus the Eagles defense. What are you keeping an eye on when you're watching this side of the ball?
Is someone going to make Clint Kubiak use his brain? Yeah, like that's what I keep coming back to. Because honestly, like to me, the run game stuff is more sustainable than the pass game stuff. Because through 2 weeks, I don't know what happened to Zimmer last week, but they just let them have the middle of the field like the entire game. And I feel like, especially once you get into some of these offenses that are really going to just spam like digs and crossers and routes that are got receivers flying across the middle of the field, like it almost turned into a game of Madden where you are just like, okay, well, hey, if they're going to keep coming out in single high and like the DBs are playing outside leverage, why wouldn't I throw a million crossers across the field? Like, why not? Like it's free money. Like it's right there. So, and I know we've talked about this offline, but like Clint Kubiak in the passing game is not reinventing the wheel here. Like they just haven't been challenged really yet. And to his credit, he's not overthinking this. If you're just going to keep letting my receivers get wide open and catch the ball in stride across the field with no one in front of them to tackle them, well then, yeah, I'm gonna keep calling that play. So I want to see if they can if they can, like, what does offense look like when teams start making plays on the ball? I don't know if the Eagles are that defense to like make that happen. Maybe Quinyon Mitchell can be that guy. The rest of them, I don't really know. But the run game stuff, I think is definitely repeatable. Like Fuaga's been pretty good in the run game. Their interior has been absolutely dynamite. Kamara looks juicy and healthy again. So I'm interested to see just what the pass game looks like, really, because to me that's just like someone's going to slow this down eventually, and then what's your counters off of that when you get there?
No, that's the best point. That's always the preferred game script against I'll say a Shanahan offense, but a Kubiak offense, same thing. It's the same tree. But when you're watching you want to get them into passing downs. You want to get Derek Carr into passing downs because you also want to get this offensive line into passing downs when they don't have the training wheel. I should say training wheels, but the buffers of chip help, moving the pocket with play action, of getting the defensive line, the off-ball linebackers to move up with the play action or anything like that, shifting everything, getting all these guys going every which way. When you drop back, very much more straight, very much a pass rush that can just tee off on you if they feel that way. So that's it. They're not going to get those favorable game scripts. They're not going to play the Panthers in week one every week. They did get after the Cowboys, and you got to give them credit, but it was, not every screen's going to go 75 yards, and not every Rashid Shaheed's pretty damn good, but not every deep ball is going to get completed like that and go to the house. So everything you just said there is the problem with all of it, though. Can the Eagles' run defense even stop this run offense? Like, I want to say, no, it's good. It's like, yeah, they're going to get him into passing downs. This defense is more talented. This is the worst run defense so far. It's extremely suspect. That's a mix of, we expected some of that, but it's a mix of, Fangio's going to do light boxes. Bryce Huff and Nolan Smith are setting the edge at a combined, quote unquote, setting the edge. Yeah, hanging out on the edge. So that's not ideal. The spine of the defense is still kind of shaky, against the run. Jordan Davis has had some nice moments early in the game, kind of fades as the game goes along. Linebackers are still iffy. But that's the thing, is they're going to run a bunch of outside zone. Do we see a little, Fangio 6-1 defense in this game? See a little that faint, right? The Saints have only been in 11 personnel on a fifth of their snaps so far this season. Everybody else is like above 40%. Usually teams are about 60%. That's about the norm. But this is like, they haven't had to. They haven't had to trot out 3 receivers. And so if they're going to try and play with a lot of fullbacks, either if it's Taysom Hill, a fullback, or the other guy, I think Fangio might try some of those 6-1 fronts. And what that is you have 6 guys across the board, and you're playing. What year was that? So that would have been 2018, when Fangio was a DC with with the Bears, and they just took the Rams to the woodshed. And then everyone copied it, because what 6-1 does, it's a good zone beater, zone run beater. Take away double teams, really just make it ugly. And then if you play quarters behind it, the safety's going to kind of fill the run from off of there. This is the ideal offense to run that against. So I'm curious if he gets to it. A little easier with those defensive players in Chicago than Bryce Huff on the outside. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. But I'm curious if he brings it up, because they have to do something to slow down the run. Like, it's just, I mean, teams are just having their way with them. I know it's 2 weeks, but kind of that's what I thought.
But I mean,
that's what happened.
So far, Robert Saleh looks right on his assessment of Bryce Huff. Like, this can't be an every down player for us. Yeah. Sorry,
he's barely played. He's never gone over 40% of their snaps, I think, in his career.
He's damn near like edge for the Eagles right now.
Yeah,
and that's tough, because
I love how you said Robert Saleh, not Joe Douglas.
I know who's in charge of some stuff, like,
right?
You know,
right.
I'm going to call it what it is, like, because there's a reason why he never got on the field, except for third down. But I was thinking in my head, I was like, you know, if I'm the Saints, like, wherever I see Nolan Smith lined up, I'm like, we're flipping the run to that side, you know, because he thought he's not holding anyone up. And then I was like, wait, but that applies to Bryce Huff too. And at times it can apply to Josh Sweat too. And I'm just like, wait,
he goes rogue, man. He like shoots.
He changed number 19 and just lost everything. I don't know what the hell happened.
19's not a defensive number.
Number.
No, that's a receiver or a bad quarterback. That's don't look at who wears number 19 for the Arizona Cardinals. All right, but what's your little prediction for this game? Not a little prediction. Give me a big prediction for this game. The Saints are favored by 3.
Saints are favored by 3. I'm going to go 4 touchdowns for Alvin Kamara. Saints
wow. That's the big prediction.
That's the big prediction. 4 touchdowns for Alvin Kamara.
I don't think they slow down the run much. I have no feel like this. I do think the Saints take it home, but I don't know. This is a very much a proving ground game, I think, for everybody. Like all 4 units. Eagles offense, Eagles defense, Saints offense, Saints defense. So that's how I kind of want to just, look at this game and review it and just see how everybody goes about it, because they can really attack the weaknesses. I think I'm going to go with the Saints being at home, and just because I think their run game is going to be able to help control the game. We're going to keep them in that game. So yeah, I'm one that's I'm pretty excited to watch, because I kind of like proving ground games a little bit. It's not a loser leaves town. It's a proving ground game. It's an eliminator match. All right, but we are going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with a couple more games from week 3. All right, moving on to a AFC versus NFC battle. We have 2 2-0 teams. We have the Houston Texans, looking good through 2 weeks, playing at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They got the Vikings. Vikings are +2, so 2-point underdogs at home. We got CJ Stroud versus Brian Flores. We have Sam Darnold versus D'Amico Ryans. That doesn't have the same kind of ring to it. But when you're watching the Texans offense against the Vikings defense, which is a pretty juicy matchup, what are you keeping your eyes on, Charles McDonald?
Dude, I'm glued in on Stingley versus Justin Jefferson. I know Sam Darnold's been the story. Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I was right. I was about to say
you're thinking of our new coworker.
Yeah. They're both KOC.
Shout out to the other KOC.
Yeah. I was like, in my brain, I'm like, who the hell am I talking about?
Man. I just say KOC whenever I tweet it, because then it just whatever. I'm right.
Yeah, but I just think the individual player versus player spectacle here. Justin Jefferson versus Derek Stingley. I'm not mad at anyone who thinks Derek Stingley's the best cornerback in football. Like, that guy is just unbelievable. Like, I'll probably still put like Surtain and Sauce over him, but like, he's in the conversation if you want to take it there. That matchup, like how it goes, to me will probably potentially dictate the entire outcome of the game. Because, you know, Sam's still Sam. Like, he's got some moments where he's fighting demons, you know, back there, fighting demons and amnesia and moving coverage pictures. But at the same time, like, he
bob and weave around those ghosts, man. That's
he's good enough to get the ball. He's good enough to get the ball to Justin Jefferson, though.
Yes, he can.
You know, I think that he's solidified himself as, like, at worst, maybe like QB 16, 17, something like that.
I was going to say he's in that 16 to 20 range.
16 to 20 range.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But with
that's
the top
good for
5,
Sam.
with the S tier throws that get me to come back, he's 16 to 20, but he's volatile. Like, he's not a Goff 16 to 20. You know, that in my head, I know that's me, and people, Lions fans are like, oh my God, Goff's better. It's like, whatever. I'm just talking about in grand talent, all that.
Fighting,
but yeah, no, whatever. But like that Goff, at least it's kind of a little more, you can set your clock to him. It's Arnold. We'll see. We'll see what we got on this given play. And
it's like he's got the Jameis, because I don't remember who tweeted this, but this was back when like Jameis first started in Tampa Bay, and someone tweeted like Jameis Winston has the most no yes plays. Like, and that's kind of where Sam is, because there's this play last week where, dude, if you watch it from the broadcast angle, but Sam from the broadcast angle, it looks like the craziest throw ever. But Sam throws like a bullet like 30 yards down the seam that just lands perfectly, pulls the receiver away from the safeties that are coming over, lands him right in between the cornerback is pinching down, and it was just a great throw. But from the broadcast, you were like, oh my God, like he did it again. Like he got coverage amnesia again. And like, but he's still capable of making those throws. It's just like the whole, like, dude, would you just stop the dumb stuff and just do the good stuff that we all know you're capable of? So at least he's in a situation where the picture's clearer for him, but he's still fighting demons back there, man. Just a little bit.
He has about 2 or 3 plays still. It used to be 5 or 6, and now it's about 2 or 3, which is good. But it's not just like, a missed throw. It's just that everything can come down.
I went blind. I went totally blind for a play.
Yeah.
You know?
No, when I like that's such a great shout out though, when you were saying with Jefferson, Stingley, and everything. Because actually, I was looking more like, some of the scheme stuff. Like, how do they play Justin Jefferson? Are they like, because last week they won a bunch of man coverage against the Bears, so that no one runs man coverage against the Vikings. Like, everybody runs cover 2. That's kind of what Jefferson was talking about. Like, hey, no offense to Garrett Wilson, people treat me differently. The funny part about it was last night, the Patriots ran a bunch of cover 2 against Garrett Wilson. So actually, he did get that treatment. They're on cover 2 against everybody. But it's a great call. That's how they might do it. Are they going to go more zone? That's what they usually do. Or are they just going to go, hey, Derek, this is your matchup. We're going to go man on third down a bunch. We're going to run a bunch of pressures. I get reminded how good DeMeco Ryans is on third down every time I watch the Texans. And I'm always like, oh, that's right. Because I think of him as like a basic zone guy. And then when he gets the third down, he becomes just a totally different person. And it might be one of the coaches that's a handle on it. But when he was with the 49ers, it was the same way. And Matt Berkey is the defensive coordinator there, but whoever it is. So that's why I'm really curious to watch is how they get after the Vikings offensive line, how Darnold handles that, how Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler pick it up. Do they put CJ Ham back there, give that away? So that's, the little schematic advantage or schematic matchup there that I'm really excited to watch. But also the other side of the ball, this is the Vikings defense in Flores. What I really like about it is it makes offenses work. It makes quarterbacks have to do straight dropbacks. There's no training wheels. This is why the 49ers game last week felt just so different, probably for a lot of 49ers fans. They ran 3 snaps of play action the entire game. That tied Brock Purdy's career low in a single game with the last time they played the Vikings last year, when they ran play action 3 times the entire game. Because Flores and his funky blitzes and all the funky looks, when you're pulling guys and moving guys on play action, it screws it up. Guys knife in, guys get missed. So a lot of offenses just go, I'm not even going to deal with it. And the other thing is there's no pullers in the run game. So they don't let you, when you pull somebody, it becomes a risk reward. It becomes, we can get a bigger gash if we pull somebody, but they can gash us and we get tackle for loss. It's a risk reward of all of those. So Flores, because they move so many guys around and do so much, teams just don't pull anybody. Last year, they faced the least amount of pullers in the entire league. It's the same way this year. Teams just run a whole bunch of zone, and they run a whole bunch of straight drop back stuff against this team. We know who runs a lot of zone? The Texans. Who's really good straight dropping back? CJ Stroud.
Sure.
These are kind of strengths of this team. Even if the run game does, it all depends if Joe Mixon's healthy. He hasn't practiced yet. If he's playing, this makes me feel a little better. They have the scheme for it, but they had, we know this Texans run game could be so frustrating if they didn't have Mixon, if they're not playing the Colts defense in week 1. Like the last week, it wasn't good, kind of became a pumpkin again. But I think they have the scheme for it. Whether they're able to pull it off is another thing to be seen. But we're going to see Stroud dropping straight back against this defense. And I think that's going to just be a lot of fun because the best quarterbacks against this defense are guys that can read the whole field, dial it up, and push the ball. That's why Justin Herbert did well against this defense last year. And I'm excited to see how much they use Stroud that way because I think it's the best way of attack for them.
Yeah, I think you just kind of said everything. I don't really too much to add.
I was excited. That's why I kept trying to get to this side of the ball because I was like, I am so geeked up about this side of the ball.
you kind of covered it. I don't really have much to add. Outside of, I just want to see if like what the blitz situation looks like for Stroud. Because he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch versus the blitz because he just doesn't panic. Like
unfazed.
He's just unflappable. I feel like in all circumstances, and I think that plays well against the Brian Flores defense, where Purdy is like someone who's like things are changing. I'm scared. I don't know what's going on.
Purdy can spiral, and now people keep forgetting about Iowa State Purdy.
Dude, he was not
the ultimate
good.
spiraler.
I'm like, I'm a little scared, but Cedar doesn't really get there. So I'm excited to see what that looks like for his game. Because I think he's kind of like the perfect quarterback to at least like mentally survive what it takes to take on the Flores defense.
I'm a little fearful Bobby Slowick might be an opening script merchant, meaning, some of these Shanahan guys, once they get off their first 12, 15 plays, they kind of aren't able to adjust. So this is some concerns I have about Ben Johnson as well. Ben Johnson with the Lions. He's proven otherwise. Like he's had some good second half stuff, but I'm still, jury's still out for me on Bobby Slowick with that. And my last little stat, because I found this and I have to share it. The Texans haven't run a single snap of base defense this entire year. Every look's been nickel or dime. The Vikings use tight ends and a fullback a ton. So the Vikings run game is also the most efficient run game in the entire NFL right now. It's super explosive. I've talked about with Matt earlier this week about it, but I think they could have a field day if they take care of business. Like they're going to be, I think this Vikings run game will be able to run the ball a little bit on that side of the ball. So I did want to check about that. All right. What's your prediction for the game?
I don't know. I'm scared. I just haven't been able to make a pick, but I think I'll roll with the Texans. Better quarterback, and I'll just default to that.
I think I'm going to go with the Texans, but I think this will be a fun game.
Yeah.
Obviously, 2-2-0 teams. NFL's fun anyways. All right, moving on to an NFC tilt. We have this felt like a for me game. We have the Lions at the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are +3 at home. When the Lions have the ball against this Cardinals defense, what are you keeping your eyes on, Charles?
To me, this is kind of like what we've talked about earlier, where like the Chargers kind of got a week off against the Panthers, because I feel like that's where the Cardinals defense was last week against the Rams offense that just has like no players left. Yeah, you kind of got a week off there because they're just so decimated.
They're so bad.
They suck right now.
Yeah.
And like the offense, I think is kind of no fault of their own. Defense, it's like, we'll see.
Yeah. We can't do that with the defense.
So I just kind of want to see like, what does this look like when, no, it's not the most injured offensive line you've ever seen. Actually, it's a pretty damn good offensive line. I actually don't think the Lions offensive line maybe is quite as good as they were at their peak last year.
Oh, no.
Like it's still a good
run
unit,
game.
though.
They're fine. It's pass pro is where they've taken a step down. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I was gonna say, I think what you're looking out for the Cardinals in this game is like, if can you affect Jared Goff in the pocket? Because I don't know if they're gonna be able to stop the run. Don't feel so strongly about that. But like, if you can, especially because like their guard situation isn't great. If you can get these guys a situation maybe through blitzes or through stunts where they have to communicate, or in Zeitler's case, move, a little bit more like over a gap and try to block someone, and you can get Jared Goff off his spot. Maybe that's the way you can slow down the offense, because I think that might be one of the few ways they can slow down the Lions offense. Because, I think the Cardinals offense is fun, but they did finish with the 4th overall pick for a reason last year. It wasn't just Kyler being out for most of the season. Defense is still like a multi-year rebuild, and I think we might see that this week.
Yeah, it's the Cardinals defense is fun, but it's not good. And I kind of keep saying that, but they're going to give some offenses issues, especially ones with weaker pass protection stuff. The Lions are not one of those teams. Even if I said they took a step down, maybe personnel wise, schematically and rules wise, they're one of the best. That's why I really like Hank Fraley, their offensive line coach. Like, their stuff's really sound. But if you're watching the Cardinals defense watch where Budda Baker is. Just look for number 3, and that's what you can focus on if you're looking at the back end, because he's flying everywhere. They use him every which way. I will say is the Lions and Ben Johnson are really good at using motion, using shifting, and not just saying that to say it, but just as to manipulate the defense to go, okay, we're going to shift this over, so now your front is screwed against what we're about to run. But what's cool about the Cardinals defense, and why I'm optimistic about them long term, and this is more maybe a 2025 take, is that it's kind of like a poker player playing position. They shift last. They use those safeties and use Budda Baker to move last. So offense bets, puts their personnel formation out there. Defense raises with their shallow in front. Offense raises with a motion and shift. Then most defenses are like, okay, a call. But the Cardinals go, okay, we're going to shift Budda Baker down. We're going to hold the pen last on this play. And I like that. And I think smarter defenses are trying to find ways to do that so they don't get manipulated. I feel like a lot of good defenses are just happening right now. It's not always perfect, but it's a possible answer. Like you said, trying to make Jared Goff feel uneasy, make him hold on to the ball that extra second. I thought Todd Bowles did a great job last week of constantly messing with the play action stuff. Not only just sending blitzes, but sending creepers. And what a creeper is do a little definition term. A blitz is when you bring 5 or more pass rushers, usually your 4 defensive linemen and then 1 extra guy. So you require 4 base pass rushers and an off-ball player, off-ball linebacker, defensive back. A simulated pressure is when you show a blitz, you bring a linebacker or a DB, but then you drop a defensive lineman, so you're only bringing 4. A creeper is you don't show blitz, you bring a linebacker or a DB, but then you drop a defensive lineman and you only rush 4. So you're simulating or creeping like you're bringing a blitz, but you're only rushing 4. And what that does, and Bowles did it great last week, and I think Rawlis, the defense coordinator for the Cardinals, will do it this week. The Cardinals are second in creeper rate, only behind the Bucs. So it's like, all right, we're going to see this. So you're rushing 4. The offense is forced to commit 6 or even 7 blockers. And so you only get 3, 2 sometimes pass routes out against 7 in coverage. And that's what was really messing with Goff last week, was he had no checkdowns because they were occupied by the blockers. So he's looking to push the ball. Guys are just flooded with coverage. And he's like, okay, I'm going to check it. Where's my check down? And that guy's occupied. And so I think the Cardinals trying to lean into that. They will get gashed a couple times, but I do think that's one little curveball they can throw at this offense. It is good. It's still good. Other side of the ball, Cardinals offense against the Lions defense. What you keeping your eyes on?
Just the Cardinals chunk plays. It's so much fun. And I feel like it's just such a, it's like from a defense perspective, it's such a tough offense to stay disciplined for, I feel like, because like the offbeat plays, dude, Kyler's so fast. Like, and
he hasn't slowed down at all post injury. And it's the same.
Here's like the very like funny, like real advantage that Kyler does have from being short. Like when you'll see sometimes like from the end zone angle when linebackers are trying to spy him, they literally like lose track of him in the pocket so they can't see him. And next thing you know, like if he's running out to the pocket and he's got like a step or two on a linebacker, like that, he's not getting caught. Like he's either going to make it back to the line of scrimmage and scramble for a few yards, or do what he did last week, like the picture that he replied to, where he is doing a no scope for shot and turning away like Steph Curry.
I've never seen that.
Through like Steph Curry shot a three, and the wide receiver catches the ball for a touchdown, and like that was not an easy throw that he made at all. Like coming across his body, flinging it back right. And then the receiver is sliding
and leading the guy.
Right. Leading the guy on the very edge of the end zone, right?
Yep.
And he's sliding in for a touchdown. That's a trick shot throw. So if he's going to be able to do stuff like that, I kind of think that like that specific skill is something that can translate versus any defense, because that just relies on him being a great athlete. And I still think like if you're looking at the Lions defense, like one area that maybe you could attack would be like just getting speed on their linebackers. And in this case, the speed comes from the quarterback. And not only that, like that opens things up for Trey McBride. We saw it open things up for Marvin Harrison last week. So like this part where, yeah, maybe the Cardinals, like their offense and structure, I think can still be a work in progress sometimes, just because like the offensive line, they've got a whole bunch of different guys up there. But for the most part, this is going to be a group where you can still count on big plays happening, because you got Kyler Murray, you got Marv, you got McBride, James Conner's having another nice start to the season. So they're still tough out. I just think for the key for the game for the Lions will be like not getting absolutely killed on the out of structure plays, because they're going to happen.
That's the again, it's the needle moving plays, and especially when if you want daring to run man coverage, you're more susceptible to these big plays if you run man coverage. Kyler eyes are back to the QB. They're running around. That's where Kyler might feast on. So that's a great point. Cardinals are another team, and I sound like a caricature myself, but it's true. I have to bring this up. They use a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, a lot of tight ends, a lot of big boys. The Lions' run defense, when they are in base, they match. So some teams don't match. I just mentioned the Texans ran no snaps of base. So some teams will go, hey, we're going to trot out our big boys, 4 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, 4 DBs, when you trot out what they call pro personnel, 12, which is 2 tight ends, 21, which is a fullback and running back, meaning 2 receivers. Some teams now in the modern NFL, the Bills, the Cowboys last year, Washington this year, the Texans, they just go, we don't have enough linebackers, we're going nickel and we'll just figure it out. Hopefully our DBs can tackle well enough. Some can, some can't, some can, some cannot. But the Lions run defense, when they are in base and they got their big boys out there, they're tough to run on. They've had 22 carries and they've only given up 42 yards on running back runs out of base. 1.9 yards per carry allowed through 2 games, 27% rushing success rate allowed when they are in base defense. However, and this is the however of all this, the but of all this, the caveat, defending the pass out of base, whole different story. QB so far throwing the ball when the Lions are in base defense. 37 pass attempts, 28 completions, 241 yards, a touchdown, a 52% success rate, 0.23 EPA per drop back. Anything over 0.2 is considered MVP rate. Just for perspectives, only 1 sack and 6 QB pressures on 40 dropbacks. So I think the Cardinals are going to be trotting out their tight ends every single play. That's my prediction of this game. And the Cardinals are really good out 12 and 13. They have the 5th highest rate of 12 personnel. They are averaging 7.3 yards per play out of 13 personnel, 23 plays, all 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns, including both of Harrison Jr.'s scores last week, were out of 13 personnel. So I think you're going to see a lot of Tip Ryman, Trey McBride, Higgins, and Marvin Harrison Jr., and a lot of bully ball and a lot of play action off of that. I think that's what their plan of attack is going to be, because that's, I think, the path of least resistance. Get the big boys out there and throw it. Your prediction for this game?
I think the Lions still take this. I think just more complete game, like their offense versus the Cardinals defense. And not only that, like they can sit on the ball too if it gets down to it. So I think they win in I think it'll be a physical game, maybe more physical than people are expecting, but still the Lions take it home.
I'm very excited. This is a game I big time circled. This might be my first game I review on all 22 the next day. I think also the Lions take it, but I do think the Cardinals are going to keep it close because they can, because I think their offense will be able to dictate a lot of things. And then you drop in wild card with Kyler every once in a while. Yeah. So that's where I think they'll keep it close. So maybe a cover by the Cardinals, but the Lions take it home. But I'm very excited to watch this game. I think it'll be a very good one. That's why we previewed it. That's why we chose it. We are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with a little 4-minute offense, a little 4-minute drill to wrap this show up. All right, wrapping it up. 4-minute offense. Wind this clock down. Run the ball. Milk some clock. Snap the ball with 2 seconds left on the play clock. We're going to start Ravens at Cowboys. Cowboys are 1-point underdogs at home. What's the one thing you're watching in this game, Charles?
It's just tough because I feel about this the same way for both teams. Like, can you just grow up a little bit and just do what you're supposed to do?
I labeled this. I had a term for it. I labeled this the "Is everything all right" bowl.
Right, because what the hell was that last week with the Raiders, with the Ravens and the Raiders? Because look, you lose to Kansas City. At least, like, you were, for the most part, going blow for blow with them. Like, at the end of the game, you were right there with a chance to win it. Losing that game is not that offensive. Losing this game against the Raiders, where you're blowing a multi-score lead to Gardner Minshew for the second year in a row. Dude, what the hell was that? And I think for this game with the Ravens, like, I'm just going to go straight full-on narrative. Like, you can't lose this game. Like, you full on just cannot lose this game. Because Dallas, at least they have a win week 1 that they can kind of lean on to hold place and hold steady in the standings. You can't be 0-3 in the AFC North. I just don't think that's really a feasible plan for them to actually make the playoffs this year. Because like, legitimately, when you're 0-3, you are like, will we make the playoffs this year, instead of we are hunting for a Super Bowl. So Ravens can't lose this game. I think they're just going to come out and hopefully just beat the crap out of the Cowboys, because if they don't, like, you are on life support as far as what you want to get done this year.
If you can't run on this defense, what are we doing?
I want an apology for them if they can't run on this defense.
But also, that's the thing, is the Saints just ran all over this Cowboys defense. What do you think Mike Zimmer is doing all week? Like that. Sometimes you don't want another team to catch the team you just went against because you want to, like, take advantage of them and make them feel safe. I'm glad you actually said it. That's like, I'm more narrative kind of scouting this game. That's kind of how I feel. I call the "Is everything all right" bowl the question mark bowl. It's like, both of these teams have so many question marks for me, and I still feel okay about both of them, but still I want to be like, all right, let's prove it. All right, are you guys actually for real, or are we just kind of what my initial maybe feelings about both of these teams, in July should have gone with my gut instinct, as opposed to what happened in August. But it was embarrassing what happened with the Cowboys defense last year. They averaged 7 yards per play out of base personnel. That just can't happen. The linebackers couldn't. That's what Kubiak did. They put a fullback on the field and they said, "Hey, linebackers, fit the run." "Oh, you can't? All right, I'm just going to do it 20 times. Like, what position does Pat Ricard play? So we'll see how that goes. Going on, last game here, the 4-minute offense, as we take a knee. Your team. We have the Chiefs at the Falcons. The Falcons just came off a Monday night victory against the Eagles, like we all expected. It wasn't like you went on a different show this week and they had to change the subject matter because the Falcons actually pulled off.
Yeah, we didn't plan it all. Where are we starting? Diddy. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Charles doing Bomani show this week. It's so funny. But what are your thoughts on the Falcons right now? Where are we at?
I'm happy they won that game because it gives you a little bounce back to lose this one. Like, hey,
the run game looks good.
It does look good, dude. Bijan looks incredible,
amazing,
right, amazing. I think he might be the best running back in football right now. It's like him and Saquon to me.
Yeah,
1 and 2 from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, Christian's out. I mean, yeah. I mean, those two
Josh Jacobs
really
had a good start to the season too.
Yeah, it's just these guys, man. They're just so explosive.
Yeah.
I know. Bijan's so deceptive. You had the whole point that he's an all 22 star, which usually it's not on running backs. Running backs is just kind of like, yeah, they're good. They're obvious. It's running back, but like he's good, obviously. But then you watch him on all 22, and you're like, oh, you made 3 guys miss there? I didn't even see him juke.
It was crazy because like there were some runs, especially in the Steelers game, where he is like setting up like a run, and like you'll see it'll go for like 4 yards, but you'll see like before he got as he's getting the ball, he's setting up like 2 guys to miss, and it's like, okay, he's playing at a different level, and they need that because I still don't think that game against Philly proved that Kirk was much healthier than he was than the Steelers game. Like, he was moving like a little bit better, but like the play that I keep coming back to is I don't remember which quarters, and I'm pretty sure it was after halftime, but there's a play where like Darnell Mooney is just butt naked open on a corner route like near the left sideline, and clean pocket, and Kirk just airmails it, and I'm like, okay, I know you're good enough to hit that one, like where that's basically just a 7-on-7 throw. That's clean pocket, no real coverage, just missed it. So that's where I'm like, okay, like we're still a work in progress here, but at least he was able to summon up whatever he needed to get down the field in like 2 seconds on that last drive that they had. Cause I remember like, dude, when they got down to the 3rd down and Saquon Barkley dropped the ball, and this is me being jaded, I know that, but I was like, this game's still over. So like I remember I went to use the bathroom, I went and grabbed another beer out the fridge, and when I came back, like they were at like the 40-yard line. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then another play, they were at like the 15. I was like, okay, so at least you know that that's in there. I'm still waiting for like just the more traditional drop back, like deep stuff to come into the passing game, because I still think that they're still kind of hiding that part, but that was definitely a better game than week 1. But also it could just be the Eagles defense isn't that good and the Steelers defense is really good, and that's kind of what happened.
I know. I think there's some truth to that.
I think there's some truth to that.
When Darnell Mooney is running all over you, I kind of my alarm bells start kind of going,
I still just want to see more Kirk, turn your back to the defense. Yes, more Kyle Pitts. Like, dude, because the one thing with Kyle Pitts is like the short stuff. That's just not really his game.
That's not his game. Like, he's an extended route runner. He's long-legged. He's 6'6". Get him running.
Right. And then he'll get the ball in like a little flat route, and he's not the guy that's going to make like someone miss in tight quarters. No. Like you're going to have to get back and play action, drop deep, and find him over on a crossing route. But I don't think they can quite do that just yet. But I do think he was moving a little better than week 1. So maybe we're improving here.
Yeah. I still think the Falcons' run game is good. I will say that. I know, but it should be. It was always the passing game that we're curious about. So, Kirk Cousins, primetime Kirk coming back in a 2-minute drive with the Falcons, and they were 99% chance to lose that game. They only had a 1% chance to win, according to Action Stats. Yeah, that's not something on my bingo card. That was not something I would have bet on happening. It was what is going on here? Like, what universe
and I still
are we
won't
in?
moving forward. I still won't.
Yeah,
so,
but watching
one game.
Island games, man. Island games mean more. When you do something in an island game, it means 100 times more than if you did it at 1:00 on a Sunday. But watching that, I still got to see Drake London more outside the touchdown. I know he's fine. I'm just saying more of the scheme for him. Great point about Pitts. I will say Pitts has actually really improved as a blocker. I know everyone hates that. You don't want to hear a top 5 pick, top 5 picks tight end doing that. He's only 23, still got a long career. So the fact that he's already becoming like not even just, I would say he's like average plus now, as opposed to just a guy you have to hide. Hey, that's good. I know some of the passing game stuff's not there, but that's good.
Dude, week 2 was a big improvement on week 1 for the Pitts blocking stuff. Because I will say, the Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt experiment, was a little tough for him.
Highsmith took his number. Yeah, you're right. I think maybe the Brandon Graham one-on-one block, which technically Pitts gave up the sack on because Kirk Cousins took so long on. But I think the Chiefs take care of business, but the Falcons are just such a curiosity.
They're better. The defense is a little more sophisticated than I thought they'd be.
And they have a little attitude. Those safeties, man, they are fun, and they can get burly. Like when they went big boy, they held up better than I expected against an Eagles front that's fantastic. So yeah, I know I just still don't know what to think of them until I see more. Rodgers' Achilles looked good last night. If we're talking about Achilles QBs, Aaron Rodgers' Achilles looked fine. He sprinted more in a game, according to Next Gen Stats, sprinted the most in the game last night than he has since 2018, which is saying something. When somebody pulled up an interview when he did with Joe Rogan when he said he was on Percocets in 2018. So that I'll let you do the math there. All right, that'll wrap us up with our Week 3 preview. It's Friday. Yes, it is Friday. I hope everybody enjoys their weekend of games. There's a ton of good ones outside the ones we just highlighted, but closing it out today, I will be back on Tuesday with you, Charles, I believe. We'll be doing a recap show of Week 3. We're giving Matt a little deep breath. I am Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. Where can they find you, Charles McDonald?
You can find me on Twitter at 4Verts. Check out our stuff at Yahoo Sports. We are writing so much. Please read it. Please read it.
Please read it. I wrote about some 2-0
Don't let that
teams.
be in vain. Don't let that be in vain.
No,
yeah.
Please do. I take pride in it. There's plenty of little next-gen stats in there. Just let's search our name, Yahoo, and find us. Yeah, that's a great point.
Search Charles Robinson, search Joy Epstein, search Frank Schwab, search Matt Harmon. We are writing so much. Please help us.
Yes, we are. Great stuff plowing out there. Shout out Joey Galino and Al Toby. All right, but subscribe to us as well. Read our articles, but also subscribe to this podcast, Football 301. Follow us, rate us 5 stars, hopefully. I want to see the number count go up, just the quantity as well. Hopefully quality with the 5 stars, but just quantity too. Please, that would really make my weekend. Watch us on YouTube, on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. You can check out every single show, Football 301. We're going to have some more visual elements to come. Also, follow Yahoo Sports on Snapchat. And we have a mailbag, email, I should say. Send in your questions. Football301 mailbag at yahoosports.com. We are going to be hitting those pretty soon. Also, thanks to Brett, Stone, and Adi behind the scenes. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you guys next week.